for tuning in to today's broadcast.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. How's everybody? All right, so we're going to hit a new series. Obviously, the title is there, Kingdom Leaders. And it's kind of good for us for the next phase of what God is setting up for the church. And we, so this will help. This will obviously it's going to help us as a Heirs family. It's definitely going to help your individual lives, but it's going to help your work. It's going to help you as parents. It's going to help us at work. It's going to help us as parents in every aspect of what we do, because a lot of times we like being in leadership roles. And now some people say they want to be behind the scenes. So that's I don't want to deal with the responsibility of leadership. But some of those same people can try to, let's say, be a silent partner in leading. So they're controlling still. They're just not dealing with the heat of the decision. So if I was behind the scenes trying to control Pastor Mel, she would be dealing with the results of the decision she's making. But I'll be behind the scenes working the controls. Now, some people intentionally are silent partners in leadership, but some people are subtle with it. You know, they're so you know, as the church grows, as pastors, people jockey for position. They try to have your ear. So they'll have your ear and they'll make suggestions or a lot of suggestions, and they'll flood you with suggestions most of the time when you're busy. And so the purpose of them is flooding you, catching you while you're busy, is the same reason why children do it. Children try to catch you while you're busy, flood you with information, so you don't have time to process it. You know, so then you'll end up reacting and making decisions. So that person's in control, and they're pretty much trying to get what they want done. So they want to be a leader, but they don't want to have the responsibility, right? And so, you know, as we grow as leaders, you know, we work to, and we don't always do it well because it's a lot going on. You have a pioneer church, so sometimes people can catch us. They can have our ear. They can get us at a certain momentum. But the Holy Spirit always helps us to adjust ourselves, redirect, and do what's best. As leaders, what you'll find out is the toughest thing for a leader is making crucial and unpopular decisions. Crucial and unpopular decisions. Now, that's something the Holy Spirit have me coin for a long time, because I think in your life you have somewhere between 7 to 15 crucial and unpopular decisions. Now, some people haven't made the first one yet. And sometimes, it's crucial because it's a lot on the line. It's unpopular because it might not be, everybody might not agree, might not go with the flow. It can interrupt false peace. You know, when things, you know how you, in a moment, everybody feeling good, and you recognize something you have to say or do, and some people are gonna be uncomfortable, but it's the best thing to do. Well, a lot of us avoid that, you know, but a solid leader can't avoid that. Because it could, you have to do what's best for the person. So I give a few examples here. So I was coaching a team. It was a traveling team in the state of New York State. And so I was working with juveniles, but I had a team that traveled throughout that area. And I had one of the top players in the entire area. And so we had a rule. You come to practice, you could play. If you don't come to practice, you're not on the team anymore. And so they had a skating trip. So this young man goes on a skating trip. Next day he shows up for practice. I looked at him, I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I came for practice." I said, "Were you at practice yesterday?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you're not on the team." So he says, "Oh, come on, Brad. I figured you let me go, Mr. Bradley, you know. I mean, we had this skating trip." But he knew he was the best player on the team. And what I said to him was, I said, "You know what? As much as I want you on this team, your life is more important than this team. So It's going to cost you for our team, but it might save you for a more crucial situation down the line. So I had to do what was best, but at my expense. We've had to do that here at the church. We've had to make decisions where people, we had great relationships flowing with, we had to allow to be either released or purged, or we had to shift and purge. Not because we don't need people, or not because we didn't need them. It was becoming cancerous. So we had to make the tough call. You have to make tough decisions. And that's, I've had to fire people. And on quite a few positions I was in, where I had to let them go. One person I was real close with, we used to ball together. He's a phenomenal basketball player. He didn't do his job right. And this is what the administration said. They didn't tell me what to do. They said, so what are you going to do here? But I already knew. The Holy Spirit told me. They was testing me. I just took over the position as a manager, right? What are you going to do here? I said, well, this is our answer. I said, well, according to all of our rules and our bylaws, this warrants termination. So the person, now, of course, the person's like, oh, so you're going to play me like that? I didn't play you. So I have to do what's best. And I shared this with my son earlier last year. I said, son, you know your dad. I love you. I've been doing a whole lot to make sure we support you and take care of you. But you know your dad. I'm going to do what's best. You know, he had to leave our house twice, right? but she'll tell you. Now, one time was I wasn't going off. I wasn't tripping. I had to do what's best for his life. And I told her a long time ago, you can't help a person's situation at the expense of their lives. And so leadership is very interesting. And when you check out biblical leadership, some people think biblical leadership is a lot more kinder. But see, you haven't read the Bible and you haven't been trained as a biblical leader. It's not mean either. See, so if I say, well, if it's not kind, it must be mean. No, it's not mean. Biblical leadership does what's best. Because biblical leadership is fueled by obedience, not by circumstances. Biblical leadership is fueled by obedience, not by circumstances. Biblical leadership is fueled by obedience, not by circumstances. Let's get into a couple of scriptures, as they say, right? So Jeremiah 1:5. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, set thee apart, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Now, a prophet here is a person, a vessel that God is using, that he's going to speak his direction and his word through. I know, who was it? It was Patanza had, I know the plans that I have for you. Jeremiah 29:11 on her shirt. So God has plans for us, and he has a particular direction. So he knew you before you was in your mother's womb. So he had a specific purpose for your life. And so what he says, so if he sets you apart for something, he wants to use your vessel to infuse his will and his plan. We're part of his plan in this earth realm, right? And so if you think about it, if you're a prophet, you're going to be a leader. Because if God is speaking through you, people are going to, they're way beyond E.F. Hutton, right? People are going to, okay, wait a minute. What does that person have to say? If it's God. Now, let's go over here to 1 Corinthians 12. 1 Corinthians 12. This teaching will get you to, it will elevate you, or you'll stumble and fall. The goal is to elevate you. Right? This is to make sure, because a lot of times I don't understand why this is not happening. Well, you'll find out through this teaching. All right. 1 Corinthians 12, verse 18. This is all powerful. 1 Corinthians 12, it talked about the spiritual gifts. After spiritual gifts, it talks about how we are different members. We have all different parts to play here. But here, verse 18, it says, but now has God set the members, what is that word? Every one of them? So God, it says, but now God has set the members, every one of them in the body of Christ, as it what? Pleased him. Not as it pleased Pastor Keith, Pastor Mel, your cousin, your daddy, your mama. It has nothing to do with that. As it pleases him. So let's say let's say this is actually happening. God pioneer planted the church, Heirs Christian Center Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, so now God says what I need to do is I'm going to plant it. I'm going to grab some leaders, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up the body. But I'm going to set the members in the body as it pleases me. I'm going to elevate them. I'm going to promote them as it pleases me. Now, the leader's going to have to be obedient to that, right? So not as it pleases the person, not because, I've been waiting a long time. It has nothing to do with proximity or longevity. That's the challenge. We actually think leadership is arrived through proximity and longevity. But these chairs has been sitting in here for the longest. And they're going to be at the same level that they've been at when they first was put in here. They have no more levels. So it's not just being present. And it's definitely not just how long you've been present. It's how much you've absorbed and how you apply what you absorb is what determines your promotion. You could be on the team for 10 years and still be riding the bench. But you figure I've been here longer than everybody else. No. You're still going to be riding the benches because you still ain't got it yet. And the reason why a lot of people don't get it, let's go back to Sunday's teaching on unraveling or unshakable. And we talked about being unraveled, and we said that tapestry is woven in. Well, the thing is, solid leaders are embracing all the layers of learning. Now embracing looks like what? It doesn't look like they just hear all layers, but they're really engrafted in. They're really soaking up. They're studying. They're meditating. They're researching. They're listening to tapes and videos. Why? Because they're a part of the tapestry. They're trying to be woven in, right? Not just the things that's comfortable for them, right? Now, a person that's not a part of the tapestry, they're skipping some of those layers. So they're not woven in, right? It's a piece of thread that's kind of just laying on the top of the garment because it hasn't gone in and out and been woven through. So when shaking comes, it's going to be easily unraveled, right? Because it hasn't been woven in, because it doesn't think it needs it. So it's skipped all that it really needs. And it's normally the first to be offended because it feels because of my proximity, because of my longevity, then I should have more value. So I don't want to skip. I be skipping stuff. I don't want to skip. Right? So let's go to Hebrews 5. Hebrews 5. I'm supposed to take my time with this so we can get it all. And now I'm going to be referencing a book through this first part to set the foundation, The Making of a Leader by Frank Damasio. I think I gave it to you, right? Yeah. So Hebrews 5, right? And let's see verse 1. All right, now here it's just talking about the highest level of leadership in our ministry community here. It says, for every high priest taken from among what? Men, right? Is ordained for men in things what? Pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. Remember at the tabernacle, they did that for one night with a king. Who can have compassion. Look. Now, the reason why they're taken from men is for a reason. Because they can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way. It says, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. So that person that came from men understands, hey, I wasn't too far away from where they at. So I'm not going, what's wrong with you? Or I don't see myself above you. I'm just privileged to serve you. I don't see myself above you. I'm privileged to serve you. Why? Because I wasn't too long in your same position. Make sense? Right? It says, and by reason hereof, he ought, as for the people, so also for himself to offer for sins. So he actually has to, just because he's in a particular office of leadership doesn't exempt him from the very things that the people that he's serving has to do. Like as leaders, we're not exempt from studying, from reading, getting the layered learning. We got to get the layered learning too. We don't go, well, we've arrived. right? We're constantly getting lay alert. Guess what? We're not, oh, this is go, Jesus Christ. We're listening to CDs. We're listening to your teachings. You guys saw me here. I took notes. I actually referenced some of the stuff I got from you guys teaching. Do it all the time. You know I listened because you hear what you've said. Oh, my God. You know I listened. Why? Not because I told you, Sabrina, I heard you teaching. No. You know I was listening. Why? Right. Because you hear what you said. Right? See, that's a difference, right? That was good, Holy Spirit. Thank you for that one. All right, so number 4, and no man taketh this honor. What does it say? And no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of God, as was Aaron. Right? No man taketh this honor to himself. Listen, I was ordained and licensed to do what I do. I didn't do it. I didn't, it wasn't just because I went to school. I went to 2 schools. I wasn't ordained because I went to school. I taught, I was the dean over a school. I told the students, just because you went to go through the school, that don't mean you're going to be ordained. But a lot of them was waiting for the school to be over so they could be ordained. I said, listen, you got the money and get to the school. You don't have to be called to go to school. Everybody know that, right? Do you know? I'm telling you. You don't have to be called to go to school. You just need the ducats. If you're called, you should go to school, but it doesn't mean you need to be called to go to school. You just need the ducats. You just need the money. All right? That makes sense, right? All right, so I told the students, I said, no. There's a whole nother level process for you to be ordained, right? And it's something that we need to realize. All right, so it says, because you don't take this honor to yourself. And then verse 5, it says, so also Christ glorified not himself. So Christ also glorified not himself to be made a high priest. But he that said unto him, thou art my son, today I have begotten thee. As he said in another place, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So even Christ didn't put himself in position. He was put in position by God. Right? All right, good. All right, so I want to reference some stuff from the book, The Making of a Leader by Frank Damasio. I'll mention it again. Not an easy read, but if you're trying to grow as a leader, you're not looking for an easy read. You're actually trying to stretch yourself, right? So here's a couple of thoughts here. The problem is that in our day, there are many individuals who desire to be leaders and teachers who are self-appointed and who have not been perfectly or fully trained. Since the advent of the internet, such people now have easily accessible pulpit platforms, right, from which to influence others. Sadly, they are like the blind hypocrites in Jesus' parable, leading many astray and causing many to stumble and to fall into spiritual ditches of false doctrines and errant teachings. Just because someone has a website, a YouTube channel, published a book, spoken in a conference, has academic credentials, or been on radio or television doesn't mean they have been perfectly equipped or fully trained for the position of Bible teacher or spiritual leader in the body of Christ. But we think because we do these things, it approves us. But you can do those things and still be an idiot. That probably wasn't nice, but it's true. But it's true. It's true, whether it's nice or not. You could do all these things and still not. God didn't necessarily have to send you to do that. Look at all the people that's caused people to fall. Look at all the people that had a pulpit, thousands of people coming into the church, and they was messing around doing things that were sexually immoral. And the question was asked this week, though we had some people in town. The question was asked, how can somebody stand behind God's pulpit and be that deceptive? And that lady over there says, because they never really believed. All right? Okay, all right. So let's just keep that in mind. We'll get into that later. We may not always know what a person's background or qualifications are. So people show up. They may show up with degrees, credentials, having been a part of whatever leadership or ministries or own businesses. Again, I mean, that's just the reality of life. And to be honest, you don't know none of these people. If somebody tells you what they have done, all you know is what they told you, right? You weren't there, right? So people, when they show up with these background qualifications, we may not always have all that, the background qualifications. We may not have been there. But the spiritual fruit they produce, whether good or bad, can be an excellent indicator of what type of spiritual tree they are. The scripture says you know them by their fruit, what they produce, what they're producing now, not what they tell you they've done, right? It's what they're producing. Listen, I can show up at a team and say, yeah, I used to play for such and such. Right? Oh, yeah, I used to ball. Man, nobody care? Let me see what you get out here. Let me see what you can do. Well, I won't say his name. So it's a young man, played in the league, someone that's allowed me to mentor him. And so he was released by a team, and another team wanted to pick him up. But the other team said, well, we're going to need you to work out. So this person says, well, you already know what I can do. I already roll with you. He never went to the workout. I said, I wish you would have called me. You should have went to the workout. I said, you see what I'm saying? Why? See, they knew him. They wanted him. And still, he had to work out. But some of us, we think we're above that. In different areas, you take on a new job. Dude, you see my credentials? Yeah, I see your credentials, but I wasn't there. That it has no effect on me now. So you know them by their fruit, right? Listen, the fruit proves the root. The fruit proves the root. Not what you say, what you are. Listen, the fruit proves the root. It's not what you say, it's what you are. That's the key. Everybody, they honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Right? Is what the scripture says. So those who sense a divine calling on their lives to teach or to lead God's people or any level of leadership need to first be discipled and raised up by sometimes older and mature, wise spiritual leaders. Not just older people. The old prophet is the one that led the young prophet astray. And the only reason he listened because he was older. This says wise, mature, that's showing the fruit of spiritual leaders who have a proven track of good spiritual fruit. This is the biblical way. Not someone just because they're at a certain age or a certain longevity. No, they're showing spiritual fruit. That's who you follow. I'm going to tell you right now, that's the only person people are following. Even the people that don't know everything I just said. People innately follow good fruit. They don't even know why. Pick on your job. There's certain leaders you love because of their fruit. You don't even know why. You just know, man, I can roll with this guy. Man, I learned so much from this guy. I love being around this guy. There's certain leaders you're like, oh my God, if they move me to another department, I'd be so happy. Man, if I could just, you see these kids now, and they got this thing now, people transferring schools. Like they transfer school. Like it ain't never been like this. Like somebody get a scholarship, go to the school. Back in the day, you stuck. Unless you get a major injury or something like that. Now it's like, oh no, I didn't know. Whoa, no, I didn't know it was like this. Hey, let me out of here. And now they letting them out, right? Why? Because they're going, man, I can't be around this guy. This guy's crazy. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important for us to recognize. The source of one's authority matters very much in the body of Christ. In our culture, almost anybody can print business cards claiming any title they want, and no one seems to care. The key to that statement is the source of authority matters. The source of authority. Where's the source of your authority? And I'm going to explain that further, because sometimes it's not God, it's self, right? what made a teacher was not just that he taught false doctrine, but that he had been falsely appointed. That's what makes a false teacher, when they're falsely appointed. It ain't just false doctrine, which means the man can be teaching the truth and still stand condemned because he has assumed the duties without authorization. When police find a man who has been intimidating a police officer, he goes instantly to jail, regardless of the quality of his policing. He could be doing a great job. You're impersonating an officer. That means, who's the source of your authority? You. You're going to jail. You go, no, but I did a good job, man. Like, hey, traffic was going smooth. The guys that were speeding, I arrested them and gave them tickets the right way. Yeah, but you don't have no authority. You're going to jail. You're going to jail because you took on authority that you wasn't approved for, right? You skipped the process, right? So likewise, a man who intimidates imitates a teacher sent from God, regardless of the quality of his teaching, is a false teacher. Regardless of the quality of his teaching, he's a false teacher. And see, this is the thing. You just got to watch it, because where's the source of your authority? If it's God, more than likely, people are going to submit to that authority, because if you've submitted to authority. See, Matthew 8, the centurion said, he says, come hear my servant. He said, well, I'll come to your house. Oh, no, don't come to my house. No, I'm not worthy. Speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. I'm a man under authority, and I have people under me. What did the centurion say? I'm a man what? Under authority. I'm submitted to authority, and I have people submitted to me. I say go and they go, and come and they come. Why? Because when I'm told to go, and come, I don't question authority, so people don't question my authority. He said, so I know how authority works. All you got to do is speak the word. I know the word is going to obey you because you obey God. I've been watching you. Everything you do. I'm not here to do my will of the Father. I'm not speaking my words, I'm speaking the Father's words. Jesus, we talking about here, right? So he says, I haven't found so great faith all in Israel. So sometimes people ain't listening to you because you don't submit to authority. As a leader, nobody's following you because you're not a follower. Why would someone follow you? That wouldn't be the fruit of the seed you sown. The fruit of the seed you sown would be people not want to follow you because you don't follow. People going to question you because you question everything. People going to be behind your back talking about you because you're behind your back talking about other people. So it's an indication of your fruit. Okay, all right. It's just keeping it real. All right, so John 9:29, I'm going to just give you some scriptures. John 9:29, John 5:43, John 9:29, John 5:43, John 8:28, and 2 Timothy 4:3. So 9:29 is, we know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we know not where he is from. What they're saying is, we know God spoke to Moses. Moses is operating in authority. We could tell it came from God. This guy, we don't know what he's talking about. You see, people respected the authority because the fruit that came out was, oh, you came out of the presence of God, not you came out of your head. You came out of yourself, you came out of your flesh, right? John 5:43, I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another shall come in his own name, i.e. by his own authority, you receive him. He said, no, I came in my Father's name. That means in my Father's honor, in my Father's authority. Not my own. Jesus said that. John 8:28, I do nothing on my own initiative, or nothing of myself. Right, so 2 Timothy 4:3, it says, for the time will come when they will not endure. I'm sorry, I should let y'all get there, but let me just read through it because we got so much stuff to hit today. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers. Or as Pastor Mel, that's your passage, the itchy ears and stuff like that, right? What stood out for me in that passage is it says they wouldn't endure. Their time will come they won't endure sound doctrine. So that means sound doctrine takes endurance. Sound doctrine takes the ability to be unshakable. Because the more sound doctrine, the more solid doctrine you hear, the more it's going to get deep in you where it's going to challenge your worldview. It's going to tempt you. It's going to touch your pride. It's going to humble you. Are you going to be able to deal with everything sound doctrine says? Like somebody starts talking about love, and if you start talking about kindness, and hey, I'm the way I am, man. I just, I just want to do what's best for that person. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's a level. But now, as you start getting deep in the doctrine, it expands love to chastisement, reproof, rebuke, speaking the truth in love. Now you got to endure that and absorb that. The same way you endure the part that's comfortable for you, you have to endure the part that's agonizing for you. All right? Yeah, I know that's kind of tough sometimes, but it is. So Paul spent that time in 2 Timothy 4. Basically, he was saying is growing in the kingdom is not a democracy. It's not everybody do what they want to do. If you read through the core values of the church, we're led by God. Right? So if you go through it, you have Presbyterian, Episcopal, and all that stuff. Yeah, we have senior people that we consult with all the time, but they don't run the church. God does. People here have a voice, but that doesn't make the final decision. It's what God does. So we listen to everybody, but the people don't. No, this ain't the United States. The people don't run the church because we be all over the place. First of all, I'll be losing my hair, and eventually I will break down. Just with the people we have right now, if I did what everybody thinks we should do, listen, I wouldn't be standing up here right now. I'm telling you this respectfully because as I've been growing and when you hear all this different stuff, you're like, whoa, like slow down. Clear your vision and then start offering things. Get that flesh out. Stop the lust. Then start talking about how you're going to have a skewed view and be confident in what you're talking about. You don't think that lust is affecting you? It is. I can say that with confidence because I don't roll like that. I don't live a lust life. So before I receive information, before I communicate information, I got to make sure the signals ain't being crossed because I can destroy lives. Some of you risking lives. I'm saying that respect. I said it with a little edge, but it's not. I'm not being sarcastic. That is actually the truth. Some people are risking lives just for a moment of pleasure. Man, I can't do that. Lives are at stake. That's why God allowed me to pastor. I can trust that dude, man. I can trust him to lead the people. Something that Robert and his wife always say to us, and I'll be listening, just in case y'all don't think I'll be paying attention. Thank you for your obedience. I don't be taking it lightly. It's encouraging that somebody's paying attention. Not so busy feeling entitled that they're not going, this dude's being obedient. I might not. Some of this stuff might be uncomfortable, but I get it. It probably takes a lot. But he's a coach. AD, he's been a leader. He knows what it takes to lead people. And he knows you have people that think all different types of things. And that's the key. That's the key. It costs something. So again, as much as we want it to be, want everybody to be doing it, some people are false apostles and disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. 2 Corinthians 11, 12 through 15. You please write it down and please study it out, read it through. I don't want to spend too much time with going over every reference for that. Yes, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 12 through 15. And it's something that the author said in the Making of a Leader I thought was pretty big. He said, for the Christian leader, the call of God is the point of revelation, the personal foundation for ministry. It's so the same is true for every Christian, though not every ministry requires as much time and energy as governmental ministry. That's what Pastor Mel and myself operate in as pastors, governmental ministry. Our first goal and identity as Christians is to know Christ and to serve his people. In this regard, much of your individual personal identity as a Christian comes from your calling and ministry from God. So what that means is when you spend that time with God, and I know there's a teaching coming up, I'm going to do it out of town first, and then I'm going to do it here. Well, it's called God Moves. And the thing is, when you're moving with God, when you're in harmony with God, when you're communing with God, everything you do comes out of revelation, not feelings. Everything is out of revelation. So a lot of times we'll abort the revelation because of how we feel. God can tell you what you're supposed to be doing. You'll shut that down because you don't feel like doing it, or you're uncomfortable with it, or it wasn't lined up with the way you wanted to do things. All right? Yeah. So that's why we have to go through the layered learning so we really get this thing down. So as you give away your life to Christ and his church, you will discover what you're purposed to do. As you give away your life to Christ and his church, you'll discover what you're supposed to do because it's weaved into your life in the community of God. So yes, you may be a big-time business owner. You may be a big-time athlete. You may be big-time minister, evangelist. I don't know, could be movies and theaters. But those are platforms. They're not purposes. Big-time lawyer. Those are platforms. And those platforms can be make or break you depending on what your foundation is. So if your foundation is your revelation from God, you'll prosper in every platform he puts you on. It just seems like everywhere you go, everything you touch turn to gold. But if you're skip that and just ride the feeling of, I want to be special here, I want to look like this. Listen, and I'm going to tell you here, because as we grow, we want to be more and more transparent with you guys. I know we're transparent, but, we got to, remember Jesus said, y'all can't handle everything right now. In some respects, and not because we think it, we know it. Some people can't handle certain things. But the reality is, man, we're not really into all the hype. If you're paying attention, you will recognize we're not into all the hype. We'll listen to it. We won't even flinch. It'll look like it's a big deal to us. Not because we front, it was just like, okay, well, that's a big deal to them. I'll just let them ride that out. But that's not a big deal to us. The fruit is, though. We measure fruit. We fruit measures. That's it. And you'll see this next stage, the only people that God is allowing us to promote to any level is the fruit producers. Not the people, not the people that pump us up, not the people that jockey for position. Listen, I appreciate it, and it's not like we don't need it. I appreciate when people give us money and stuff like that, but that ain't it either. I'm telling you right now, it ain't it. We ain't taking no bribes because it ain't our church. So it'd be like, you're like, so I'm just using you because you didn't do it. But let's say, you give me $1,000 tomorrow because you figure out we're going to be closer. I'm going to receive your $1,000 and I'm going to spend it. But guess what? I'm not responsible to promote you. God is. But hey, good looking out, brother. We got the hookup, I'm getting paid for God's job. So let me hold some. Is it so important that leaders know what their calling is or what it is not? We also need to know who our calling comes from because that is also going to be our source of authority. Where did your calling come from, right? See, if your calling came from self will be your source of authority. Listen, it's important not just to know your levels of authority, or Where did your calling come from? Self or God? Because if it came from self, that's where all your authority is from self, and ain't nobody following you. Because you self-appointed. You in denial. People don't follow me and Pastor Mel. They follow God. I'm telling you right now. All these people come here from all over the country, come visit. You know, ain't nobody following Keith. Ain't nobody care about Keith. Realistically. Keith ain't all that. Add the God piece. Only took me 90 days in any job I ever got to get a promotion. Not because Keith's sweet, because Keith ain't. Because of God. I'm telling you, it's the difference. It's the difference. So you keep cheating yourself. Listen, Pastor Mel is not with Keith Bradley. She's with the man of God. Remove God, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be in Charlotte. We wouldn't be together. She wouldn't have went down that road, as you say. Some told me to go down that road, right? She wouldn't have went down that road. It's God. I'm telling you it's God. Listen, remove God, we ain't rolling. And in the relationship, it gets stagnant if I get stagnant with God. Then we'll start to argue. Then it get frustrated. Because the movies and all that stuff get old. I mean, we go to the movies. We went out to eat the other day. We go out to eat and stuff like that. Well, trust me, we went out to eat so us two people of God could be together. Remove God. We just sitting there looking at each other, acting like we together. Remember I told you playing the role. You know, you play the role. Did you saw on TV? You're so funny. Now, the whole time on the inside, you're like, can't wait till this meal get over. But you on the outside, you're like, well, because I got to play the role. Oh, this is a nice restaurant. It don't make you feel no better if the person ain't loving you, if the person don't care about you, if the person ain't essential. The restaurant don't make you feel no better. The beach don't make you feel no better. You can lie to yourself all you want. It don't make you feel no better. But if you in love, you just picked the location. You made the vacation. Remove God. I guarantee you'd be like, so what's the hype? Okay, unless you're still in denial. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm just not. I've gone to plenty of places that's supposed to be all this and all that. I was like, okay. I have to ask my wife. First thing, babe, what's the hype? Oh, you ain't sending me nowhere just because everybody else say it's sweet, and I'm going to be like, oh, this sweet. It's special. It's really special. I ain't never seen nothing like this before. No, I'm looking at exactly what it is. Babe, I said, because when we bought our house, the house that we're selling, vacations start changing. So we went, because our bedroom is huge. It's like an apartment. So we was going on vacations because the church would go on leadership stuff. We stay in a big-time hotel. I was like, babe, we in this little tiny room. And they asked for all this money. I said, basically, we're in a little box room with a nice-looking bed and stuff like that, and a small TV. It ain't that big. It ain't bigger than mine. I'm like, what's the hype? I said, babe, like, it's getting to a point where the house is better than the vacations. Okay, all right. I'm just yeah. Stay focused, Keith Bradley. Stay focused. All right. Carlin, I said that. There are 3 ways a person can be appointed to office. 3 ways you can be promoted to a particular level. And you can attach this to whether it's I want to be captain or whatever. You know, there's all right, this is one of the worst ways. Self-appointment. So a self-appointed leader takes upon himself the authority and responsibility of spiritual office in which he has not been divinely called. The self-appointed having assumed a position or a role without the endorsement of others. That's the dictionary definition of self-appointed. And we talked about this the other week. That person leans to their own understanding. Scripture says, watch out, lest he fall. 1 Corinthians 10:12. Proverbs 16:8, pride comes before the fall. That self-appointed leader, is always looking over their shoulder. Always, because they wonder they're gonna be found out, and they be snapping on you. You ever see like people that like put themselves in position? They be getting all snapping and stuff like that. Why are you snapping? See, you operate business as you. So I give you an example. So I was at a particular job in ministry, and I know this is on film. I'm not going to say the name, but if you figure out who it is, I'm only telling the truth. So the person was hyped up. But, they probably padded their stats. Y'all know what I mean by padding stats, right? Y'all know what I mean by padding stats? Okay, so padding stats, we take that from athletics. It's almost like they're not true numbers. So let's say you worked at a job, you was over 10 employees, but you put it on there, you was over 100. You just padded your stats. Or let's say you really you worked at the job and you really taught babies how to walk, but you put on there you're a great teacher, right? You just padded your stats, and so this person came in, padded stats, and so the leader said, "Hey, this person, they work for this person, they work for that." So let's say they work for a big time person, and they were you thought they were what do you call it, executive officer over such and such, but they really just did their schedule, right? That's just patent stats. So, but if you tell me you have credentials, I'm going to deal with you based on the credentials first. You got to prove me you can't do it, right? I'm going to take you just the way you say. I've always been taught that. So what I did with this person now, I actually had more experience than this particular person, but no problem. Listen, I'm good. One thing about me, I'm not insecure. So I was like, okay, if this is the person they sweeter, I let them do it. So I knew what to do, but I was like, hey, so how do you think we should handle it? And the person was like, well, what do you think? They start getting all worked up. I said, no. What I'm asking you is, how do you want us to carry this out? So what you trying to say? I'm trying to say, how do you want us to do it? In this area, this is your lane. You have the expertise. We were told that you were the expert. So I'm not gonna bleed over into your responsibility. You got all you gotta do is tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. But you know why the person was being defensive? They didn't know what to do. Instead of saying, hey, listen, I was happy I got the job. Hey, could you help me? Because I'm the type of person, even if it helps you to get promoted, I'm gonna help. Listen, that ain't just ministry. I've been that way my entire life. Because I don't lose. Nobody can do what I do. I can't do what nobody else does. I know this. So if I help Jamal and Jamal gets promoted, I don't lose. I probably set myself up for if he goes too far high, he gonna hire me or something. I ain't stupid, right? So that person was defensive because they were hiding. They were looking over their shoulder. They was like, hope nobody find out. And then I happen to be the person to be asking questions. Right? That's dangerous, man. That's dangerous. That's self-appointed. That's pride. And so I'm not going to get into it, but that's what happened when Korah and them sparked that rebellion. Remember with Moses? Look. Moses who was the leader? We already know it's Moses, right? Moses just went away. But because Moses went away, didn't mean he still wasn't a leader. Where did he go away to? He went away to talk to the authority, to make sure he had the actual vision for them. Moses wasn't leading those people just to have a band of people follow him to say, yo, I got all these million people following me. Moses was being obedient. He was a man of God being obedient to whose vision? God's vision. And so Moses went to check with God, the authority. Korah and them decide, man, we don't know when that dude coming back. Let us make us gods and we'll follow them out of Israel. First of all, that makes no sense. You're making it. Then they persuaded Aaron, and this is what happens in churches and stuff like that. Yo, Aaron, I know that's your boy and everything, and you rolling with him. But see, they wanted to discredit all authority. Aaron was the right-hand man. They wanted to get in his head, too. So they had him making golden calves. And then after they made it, this is the God that brought us out of Israel. No, it's not. You just made it. You just made the thing. I mean, I keep stopping there because that always intrigued me when I read through that story. Like this is what happens in life. It's obvious. I don't know if this is a word, buffoonery. It's obvious, but everybody rolling with it. Everybody just rolling with it. Like, no, everybody sees it too. But because somebody's more boisterous, I ain't gonna say nothing. You gonna say something? I know. We just made the calf, but hey, let's just roll with it, man. Maybe something happened. We don't know. Moses ain't back yet. It makes no sense. All right, so 2 Timothy 2. 2 Timothy 2. We're gonna get deeper into this, but I wanted to wet our whistle because we're cheating ourselves, and we're not cheating ourselves because we want to or because we some evil people. Sometimes we just don't know. My people perish for lack of knowledge, right? Sometimes we just don't know. So 2 Peter 2 verse 10. It says, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government or authority. It says, presumptuous are they. That word presumptuous means overconfident. Self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. It says, whereas angels which are greater in power and might bring not rarely accusation against them before the Lord. But these are natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed. Speak evil of the things that they understand not. Speak evil of the things they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. So this is saying, like, okay, so first of all, to get to leadership, you submit to authority, you have authority. So you have to be faithful in another man's. God will give you your own authority, right? And it's saying that you have people that get overconfident and presumptuous, and they think it's no big deal to be speaking evil of God's appointed leadership. Like no reverence. Behind the scenes, backbiting. It says even angels know better than that. Angels don't do that. Like, I guarantee you, we do all types of foolish stuff. The angels be like, man, just roll with it, man. We got to serve them. Maybe we can help them out of it. But they don't be like, man, dude, stupid, man. Angels don't even do that. And they're at a higher level. It says people do that, they're going to perish in their own corruption. Right? And a lot of times the corruption has levels, right? And so some of that corruption starts. Think about how you feel when you're not in place, when you're not on your platform, right? So if you're not in the NFL, and let's say some of your friends go to the NFL, how you going to feel? I know you're going to be more than hurt, brother. And you had an opportunity, and people were telling you what to do. They told you when you was in high school what to do with your grades so you can go to a top Division I school and not just any school, but you blew it off, right? They told you what to do when you got to college so you could make sure you were in position you wouldn't be ineligible and you would have the opportunity to be drafted. But let's say you blew all that off, and your friends didn't, and you're better than them. 10 times. How you gonna feel then, brother? Well, all you got to do is go around here, see some of these people laying out downtown, just go interview them. See some of these people that look sad and mad working at the gas station, and you can ask them, what were they supposed to be? And who did they not listen to? And I'm saying that to say, wouldn't that be a level of corruption? Wouldn't you be broken down just a little bit? And wouldn't you start the spiral? I mean, I don't want to mention it because I think it's sad, but I just saw something just recently. I was shocked the person did it, but this person was at the highest level. He was where you want to go. Oh yeah. Now, don't say no names or nothing like that. But I can see, when things start not happening your way. Yeah. I know people that were the number one. Like I know two people. 2 different states at one time in their life, they were the #1 player in the country. Didn't do some things they're supposed to do. And I'm talking about when they were your age, people just let them do whatever they want to do. You know, they were talking about the guy, Kawhi, they were saying he could eat what he want to eat. These people was in high school, and they can go wherever they want to do whatever they want to do. When they didn't do what they were supposed to do to get to where they were supposed to go, everybody turned their back on them. When I met them, they were struggling with all types of stuff, drugs and all types of things. Wouldn't that be a form of corruption? Eventually ends up in the ultimate corruption, don't it? Right? See, so we need to do what we need to do. All right, that was my point. All right, so the thing is, the reason this says that people that don't know how to flow with authority and stuff like that are overconfident. I'm gonna tell you this, and this is not intentional. It's not conscious. It's probably a lot of times subconscious. That's why leaders are rubbed the wrong way. Sometimes when those type of people flatter them or hype them, a true leader doesn't respond to flattery and hype. But if you're used to everybody going for your flattery, hype, and your eloquent words, you're gonna get offended. You're going to think they don't like you because you hinge, if you're liked or not, based on people responding to your cheerleading them. Not if you're liked or not based on who you are. If you valued who you were, you would know who wouldn't like you. But if you just value what you do, you're going to think people don't like you if they don't respond to you the way everybody else has. But a solid leader don't respond to hype. They respond to heart. See, that's what I'm saying. We got to grow up. We got to understand how God does things. God don't even respond to hype. He responds to heart. Man looks on the outward appearance. He looks on the heart. Look, Jesse brought all his hyped up sons to be anointed. Didn't none of them get anointed. And then Samuel was told by God. See, y'all look on the outward appearance. He said, man, I don't look on the outward appearance. I look on the heart. Find the person with the heart to be king, not with the hype to be king. So we do all these hype things. Look, we jockey for position. We stay around. We pump people up. We do good deeds and all these things. But what's our motive? If we're hyping folk up, not no solid leader going to promote you. And even if you get a promotion from a person that's not a solid leader, it ain't true. It ain't legit. You bribed yourself. You bribed the promotion. See, again, you're not weaved through the tapestry. You're that thread on the surface. Soon as under pressure, you the first person that's going to be pulled away, blown away, shooken away, thrown away. Right?
Thanks for tuning in to today's broadcast. To view videos or make donations, feel free to access our website at www.heirscc.org. Remember, at Heirs, we believe we're just what you prayed for.